Job did not suffer in silence. He demanded a trial, and God showed up. We have been telling this story wrong for a long time. The version most people carry is about patience, about a good man who lost everything, endured without complaint, and was rewarded in the end. That version is almost entirely a fabrication. The actual book of Job is something far stranger, far more dangerous, and far more honest. A story about a man who looked at his destroyed life and decided that silence was not an acceptable response to injustice. Who took the language of the ancient courtroom and turned it against heaven itself? Who did not pray quietly? Who filed a lawsuit? To understand what Job actually did, you have to understand the world he lived in. The ancient Near East was not a world that believed in random suffering. That idea, that catastrophe can simply happen, that the universe operates without moral logic, was not available to people living 3,000 years ago in the river valleys between the Tigris and the Euphrates, or in the highlands east of the Jordan. Suffering in that world was diagnostic. It told you something. Specifically, it told you that you had sinned, that you had broken covenant with whatever power governed the moral architecture of the cosmos, and that the suffering was the bill arriving. This was not a fringe belief. This was the theological consensus of the ancient world. The Mesopotamians had already been wrestling with this for centuries before Job was written. A Babylonian text known today as Ludlul Bel Nemechi, which translates roughly as "I will praise the Lord of wisdom," follows a nobleman who loses everything despite his apparent righteousness. He cannot understand why the gods have abandoned him. He lists his religious observances, he catalogs his suffering, he searches for the sin he must have committed. The text eventually finds resolution in the mercy of the god Marduk, but the question it asks is the same question Job asks. Why does the righteous suffer? The book of Job is the Hebrew Bible's entry into that ancient conversation. And it is the most radical entry in the genre because it refuses the genre's standard resolution. It does not find the hidden sin. It does not explain the suffering. It does something far more unsettling. But first, who is Job? He lives in Uz. The location is deliberately vague. It sits outside the clear borders of the Israelite covenant, east of the Jordan, in territory that is neither fully Israelite nor fully foreign. This is not an accident. The author places Job outside the specific legal and theological framework of Torah on purpose. Job is not operating under the Mosaic covenant. He is a man of the ancient world engaging the ancient world's deepest question. And that means his confrontation with the divine is conducted on different terms. It is cosmic before it is covenantal. It is human before it is Jewish or Christian. Job is described at the opening as blameless and upright. The Hebrew is tam ve'yashar, complete, whole, morally integrated. He fears God. He turns from evil. He is by every available measure exactly the kind of man the theological system says should be protected. And this is precisely why what happens next is so catastrophic. Not just for Job, but for the entire framework. The story does not begin on the ash heap. It begins in a throne room. In the prologue, the text pulls back to a perspective no human character possesses. The divine assembly convenes. The sons of God, the heavenly court, a concept the ancient Israelites shared with their Mesopotamian neighbors, a cosmic bureaucracy surrounding the divine sovereign, present themselves before the Lord, and among them walks a figure identified by the Hebrew term Hasatan. Not a name, a title. Hasatan means the adversary, the accuser, the challenger. In the legal framework of the divine court, this is a prosecutorial role, the one whose function is to test the claims being made about human beings. This is not the devil of later Christian theology, red-horned and rebellion-scarred. This is a court officer doing his job, And his job in this moment is to challenge a claim God has made. God says, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth. He fears me for nothing, not for reward, not for protection, not because the theological system has been good to him, for nothing." The accuser's response is the hinge on which everything turns. Does Job fear God for nothing? Strip away everything he has, and he will curse you to your face. What is being tested in the wager that follows is not Job's faith. It is God's argument. God has made a claim about the nature of human devotion, that it can exist independent of benefit, that there is a kind of faithfulness that is not transactional. The accuser says that claim is naive. The only way to settle it is the experiment, and Job is the experiment. The suffering begins. In two waves, his wealth and children first, then his body. Job loses everything that the ancient diagnostic framework would say he should have. And his friends come. Eliphaz, Bildad, Zophar. They travel from their respective homes to sit with him. For 7 days they sit in silence, which is the correct response to grief. The silence ends when Job opens his mouth, not with prayer, not with praise, but with a curse. He curses the day of his birth. He wants the day he entered the world to be unmade. The darkness he calls for is not poetic despair. It is a formal rejection of the creation that produced his suffering. And then the dialogues begin. Understand what Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar represent. They are not villains. They are the voice of 3,000 years of accumulated theological wisdom. They are the men who have read all the right texts and arrived at all the correct conclusions. When they tell Job to search himself for hidden sin, when they suggest his suffering is proportional to some moral failure, they are applying the only logical framework available to them. They are not being cruel. They are being orthodox, and Job dismantles every one of them. Not by countering their arguments with better arguments, by refusing to accept the premise. He will not confess a sin he did not commit. He will not falsify his own innocence to make their theology work. He tells them explicitly that if he were to agree with them, he would be lying, and that lying to comfort God would be wickedness. He says this to their faces across 3 full cycles of argument as the language escalates from grief into anger and from anger into something that approaches the unthinkable. Job does not pray. He files a lawsuit. The legal language in the original Hebrew is unmistakable to anyone who knows ancient Near Eastern jurisprudence. Job calls for a witness. He demands a hearing. He issues a formal summons. He describes God simultaneously as his opponent in the case, and the only one capable of vindicating him. A legal paradox that mirrors his theological one. He is suing the only judge who has jurisdiction. He knows this. He does it anyway. He says, "I know that my Redeemer lives." That sentence, which has been lifted out of context and placed on gravestones and turned into oratorios, is not a statement of peaceful faith. It is a legal declaration. The Hebrew word translated as redeemer, goel, is a kinship term for the one who acts on behalf of a wronged family member, who prosecutes blood claims, who does not let injustice go unanswered. Job is saying, someone will take my case, someone will force a confrontation. He has not lost faith. He has converted faith into a weapon. Then there is silence before the whirlwind. A young man named Elihu speaks last, 4 full chapters, presenting himself as the voice that will finally resolve the deadlock. He is never answered. He is never acknowledged. The text simply moves past him. This dismissal is the author's verdict on every voice that presents itself as the one that finally has it figured out. And then the Lord speaks from the whirlwind. The arrival of the divine response is one of the most cinematic moments in all of ancient literature. There is no warning. There is no angel messenger. The whirlwind comes and the voice comes from inside it, and the first words are not an apology or an explanation. They are a question. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? What follows is 38 chapters of sustained cosmic interrogation. The constellations, the gates of death, the storehouses of snow, the wild ox, the warhorse, the hawk that spreads her wings toward the south. The creation in all its terrifying, uncontrollable, magnificent breadth is placed before this man on his ash heap, and the question underneath every question is the same. Do you know what you are asking to understand? The traditional reading treats this as God silencing Job, putting him in his place, answering challenge with overwhelming power. Read the ending more carefully. God turns to Eliphaz, the first and most eloquent of the three friends, the spokesman for Orthodox theology, and says this: My wrath is kindled against you and against your two friends, for you have not spoken of me what is right as my servant Job has. The three friends who explained everything correctly, the men who applied the proper theological framework, who defended divine justice, who urged confession and repentance, they are wrong. And Job, who accused, who demanded, who nearly blasphemed, he is the one who spoke rightly. The word the New Testament would eventually translate as patience. James 5, verse 11. You have heard of the patience of Job, does not exist in the original Hebrew. The Hebrew word is closer to endurance under pressure, to tenacity, to the refusal to let go. Job is not patient. Job is relentless. He holds on not by going quiet, but by refusing to lie, refusing to manufacture a confession that would make the system work, refusing to offer false comfort to a theology that cannot hold his reality. And the whirlwind does not bring an answer. It brings a presence. The suffering is never explained. The wager is never mentioned. The children are never discussed. What God offers Job is not resolution. It is encounter. The question is met not with an answer, but with an arrival. The story ends with restoration. New wealth, new children, 7 sons and 3 daughters, identical in number to what was lost. And this has troubled careful readers for as long as the text has existed. Those are not the same children. You cannot restore a child by giving someone new children. The text knows this. It does not pretend otherwise. Perhaps the restoration is not the point. Perhaps it is a formal closing of a frame that was always about something else. About whether the man in the ash heap, stripped of everything the theological system said would protect him, could hold his integrity in the dark. Not his piety, not his patience, his refusal to lie. The book of Job has been leaving its central question open for 3,000 years. Why do the innocent suffer? The text does not answer. The whirlwind does not answer. What arrives in the storm is not a verdict, it is a voice. Whether that is enough is something every reader of this story has had to decide for themselves. Every single one.